Good afternoon, members of Parliament, our support staff, those persons in the public tribune, radio listeners, TV viewers, and all those following via social media, as well as members of the media. I want to welcome you to this public meeting number 12, a question hour for today, Monday, February 26th. I want to take this opportunity to give a special welcome to the Honorable Minister of Justice, Ms. Anna Richardson, and her entire support staff. And we have established a quorum of 10 members. Please stand for a moment of silence. Thank you. I have received notice of absence from the following members: MP Silveria Jacobs and MP Doran. Before I open the floor to the other members of Parliament who would have the opportunity for notifications at this time, I would like to express condolences on behalf of Parliament. Firstly, to the families who have lost a loved one, especially over the past week. And very particular, I want to express condolences on behalf of Parliament to two members of the staff of the Secretariat of Parliament. We have MP Doran and Mrs. Dangleben York on the passing of their uncle and brother respectively, as well as to MP Otley on the passing of his family member, all the late Mr. York, all for the late Mr. York. We also have words of condolences going out to our Secretariat member, Ms. Maynard, on the passing of her uncle. To all these persons, sincerest condolences on behalf of the Parliament of St. Martin, wishing them much strength at this time. At this time, members of Parliament, you have the opportunity for a notification if you so wish. I see several MPs indicating, and I want to start with MP Luc Mercelina. MP Mercelina.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Secretary General, Minister and supportive staff, and the public in the audience. Welcome. I would like also to make use of this opportunity to extend my condolences to the family of the very known orthopedic surgeon, Dr. Paul de Wind. Dr. Paul de Wind has had a great contribution to the orthopedic surgery for the people of St. Martin. And in the name of the people of St. Martin, although he is not more here, I would like to thank him for everything he has done for the populace of St. Martin, and wishing the family a lot of strength.
Thank you, MP Mercelina, for that notification, and we share those words of condolence with you. We have now, as agenda point for this public meeting, a question hour based on questions from MP S.D.M. Roseburg, directed to the Minister of Justice regarding the Justice Ministry workers. This document by MP Roseburg is registered on the IS 421 of the parliamentary year 23-24, and it was dated the 22nd of February of this year. I want to, before giving MP Roseburg the floor, just go over, especially also for the general public, the intention and the proceedings of a question hour. The intention of this question hour is to create a possibility to interact with ministers. After the passing of Hurricane Irma, Article 69 of the Rules of Order was proposed in order to introduce the so-called question hour, in Dutch, vragenuurtje. During the question hour, only questions and answers will be given on the topic at hand. Questions to be answered during question hour by the minister can be submitted from Monday to Wednesday during the so-called reading week or preparation week of Parliament. And regularly, the deadline is Wednesday at 5 p.m. The Member of Parliament submits questions to Parliament in accordance with Article 69 and further of the Rules of Order, which states, to exercise their supervisory activities, each Member of Parliament may pose questions to one or more ministers without the permission of Parliament. So these questions go directly to the minister via the Secretariat, of course. The Member of Parliament needs to specifically request that the questions submitted be answered orally in accordance with Article 69C of the Rules of Order. And if more than one subject or more than one set of questions, the President of Parliament decides on the sequence of the subjects during a question hour. Seeing the fact that in theory all 15 members can submit questions for the question hour, a selection would need to be made of which questions, topics of which members will be allowed for a particular question hour. And the maximum on the speaking time during a question hour is regulated in Article 69D of the Rules of Order. The proposal was to allow questions from two different members to be answered each time during a question hour to avoid exceeding the time allotted for a question hour, namely an hour. The minister, the relevant minister, is invited by letter along with the questions posed by the Member of Parliament no later than Thursday, 12 p.m. And a convocation for the question hour will be sent out by Thursday at 5 p.m. at the latest. If the relevant minister agrees to answer the questions verbally, the question hour will take place as scheduled on Monday. And the Member of Parliament will be given the opportunity to read his or her questions as submitted for a maximum of 2 minutes. The minister is then given the opportunity to answer the questions for a maximum of 1 minute per question. The Member of Parliament is then given the opportunity once more to ask additional questions for a maximum of 2 minutes, according to the same Article 69 of the Rules of Order. And the minister is then given 1 minute to answer each question, still based on the same article. The President can then allow other members of Parliament to ask questions for a maximum of 1 minute about the same topic. And the minister will be given a minute to answer those questions as well. There are some rules regarding the question hour, and those are, for example, that no permission can be asked during a question hour to hold an interpellation, nor can, other than in a regular public meeting, motions be submitted during a question hour. So having explained the process a little, today, Monday, February 26th, we have questions that, as I mentioned, were submitted by MP Shamira Roseburg, dated February the 22nd, 2024, for the Minister of Justice, and they were submitted in accordance with Article 69 of the Rules of Order. Minister Anna Richardson was invited by email and by letter, and here the minister is with her support staff to respond to the questions which were submitted to her on behalf of MP Shamira Roseburg. So I would now want to give MP Roseburg the opportunity to read her questions to the minister. MP Roseburg, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair Lady, Secretary General, fellow members of Parliament. Is my on? No? Yes.
Yes.
Fellow members of Parliament, Honorable Minister of Justice and her support staff. I have a few questions indeed. I will start. Honorable Minister of Justice, could you please clarify why the justice workers have not yet received their national decree? A debt calculation outlining outstanding amounts owed to the specific justice workers, updated compensation based on the revised function book, and I would like to know what are the factors contributing to the delay and where specifically are the bottlenecks in this process? When, and I'm referring to a specific date, can the justice workers expect to receive their documents as mentioned before? Also, I would like to know when the first phase, as mentioned in your press release of February 21st, will be finalized, also a specific date. Also, question number 4, The subsequent phases handling the retroactive payments between 10-10-10 and the 31st of December 2022. When will that be finalized? And I'm again referring to a specific date. And then also wondering in the interim, what short-term solutions are being considered to address the needs of the justice workers until the payment can commence. And this is to avoid any go slow or work to rule actions. And once the justice workers receive those documents, could you also outline the step-by-step process with time frame for the payout to occur? And then also would like to know if it's accurate that currently the ministry lacks sufficient manpower to draft the LBs, and would it maybe be feasible for each department in the Justice Ministry to contribute with personnel to speed up this process? That's in regards to the justice workers in general. How much time I still have? Done? Okay. Those are the questions for now.
Thank you, MP Roseburg, for those questions posed. And as I mentioned earlier, the minister has received these questions. That is one of the purposes behind the creation of a question hour. So I now invite the minister to respond to these questions by the MP. Minister Anna Richardson, you have the floor.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair Lady. Are we good to go? Yes. Good afternoon, Madam Chair Lady, members of Parliament, support staff, the viewing and listening public, those that have joined us in the Tribune. A special good afternoon, and also to, I always recognize our senior citizens. Through you, Madam Chair Lady, I will go directly into answering the questions, and I hope to be able to do that as quickly as possible with everyone being able to understand. The initial batches of national decrees prepared and submitted for approval in January 2023 were returned by the Ministry of Finance with comments. These comments specifically requested that each individual advice include comprehensive financial details for each and every staff national decree in the file, including benefited allowances such as on-call availability and overtime, and covering the entire retroactive scope of that employee. This requirement extends beyond the scope of the received LBAs or the LBAs that we had initially sent, which pertains to the placement as of January 1st, 2023, and includes retroactive corrections for the period prior to that date. The LBAs currently undergoing preparation for ratification aims to prevent further development of financial debt. So we are seeking to stop the bleed, so to speak. A phased approach combined with the newly enacted function book ensures that smooth placement of active staff. Moving on to question B. After completing phase 1, phase 2 will commence immediately, focusing on the retroactive aspect for employees. During this phase, each individual staff member will have the opportunity to receive a breakdown of their retroactive history. Question C. An employee's salary can only be rectified with their national decree. Yes, the national decree we are seeking to have signed now is necessary in order to be able to recognize that rectified salary. However, the overtime and their on-call compensation will be recognized in this coming March 2024 payroll. As indicated in the initial batches of national decrees submitted, these were returned by the Ministry of Finance with comments that each individual advice must be supported with the full financial picture per staff, per LBA, that is included in the batch file. This not only is limited to the scope of the received LBA, which is the placement as per January 1st, 2023, but the retroactive placement of the individual to which is not to be captured in this phase. This additional requirement imposed by the Ministry of Finance has slowed the trajectory of the process. However, we have now remedied this matter with the necessary additional documents per national decree presented, noting that a resubmitted batch has now successfully reached the final approval step and is currently being reviewed by His Excellency the Governor. This will be followed by the weekly batches of 25 national decrees to be processed. As a matter of fact, 25, or a batch of 25, was presented to the Ministry of Finance this past Friday. When it comes to the staff receiving the national decree, the respective staff member will be contacted to receive same once the governor and my person as Minister of Justice have co-signed those national decrees. Currently, there's a batch of national decrees at the governor's office, as I just so mentioned. As it relates to the function book and the legal position of persons with police tasks, this document is a public document and can be found in the announcements of Government St. Martin. So the police, so to speak, the police law in English, or the Rexpositie, is available online, and anyone that is seeking to be able to review it can access it. Phase 1, or answering question number 3, Phase 1, which entails the placement of all active staff per January 1, 2023, is expected to be completed by the end of the second quarter 2024. Question 4, Phase 2 is expected to commence directly after Phase 1 is completed. Number 5, the legal position is established, and the expeditious is the focus. The expedition of this is the focus right now. The ministry has secured some additional assistance, but more is needed and is being sought to help further expedite the process. And that help has come so far from the Department of Py S.D.M and Customs, thanks to both departments. As agreed upon in the CCSU platform, I'm answering number 6 now, the rectification of salaries, retroactive payments, etc. will happen in phases. Please see the screen for the breakdown. Yes, when it comes to number 7, the ministry is currently understaffed. However, to assist with the drafting of the national decrees, individuals must possess some knowledge and experience in human resources, as well as an understanding in data protection and privacy protection. Unfortunately, it won't be feasible, as some departments within the ministry does not have HR staff or individuals responsible for such matters. We have, however, addressed this shortage by adding those HR qualified personnel within specific departments, namely Py S.D.M and Customs, to join the team and support the handling of these files. Number 8A, Prison and Customs Function Book are in effect. 8B, I am pleased to inform you that all employees within the Customs Department have received their year-end evaluation for the year of 2023. It is essential for us to ensure that this assessment process is conducted diligently to recognize the hard work and dedication of our team members. I acknowledge that some employees have lodged appeals or challenges regarding the outcome of their evaluation. I want to assure you that these appeals have been duly noted and are currently awaiting review. It is imperative for us to guarantee the integrity and fairness of the evaluation process. And therefore, before any final decisions are made, each appeal will be thoroughly reviewed to verify that the correct procedures were followed. Please be advised that we are committed to conducting a comprehensive and transparent evaluation process to address any concerns raised by our valued customs officers. It is our priority to uphold high standards in professionalism and accountability within the department. 8C, with the function book in effect and placement well underway, staffing requirements are identified for vacancies to be posted and recruitment to start. 8D, customs officers possess dual authority, holding not only customs jurisdiction, but also acting as extraordinary police officers. The identification cards designated them as extraordinary police officers can be obtained through the police department. In response to the identification concerns, the Customs Department is starting the process of determining the specific form of identification that will be used for customs officers. Our plan will include the production and distribution of these identification cards to ensure a streamlined and efficient process. I assure you that we are aware that it is a legal requirement and will work on resolving this issue to enhance the clarity and visibility of customs officers' identification. Our goal is to strengthen operational processes and provide a secure and transparent environment for both officers and stakeholders. 8E, the legal position or Rexpositie. Updates for customs and HAVE are currently being worked on with the unions. Several meetings were planned to jointly conclude this process. Vital input from the unions is awaited at this time. A date for completion is not yet available. 8F. The Customs of St. Martin is determined to restore its K-9 force and its accompanying handlers to full capacity, aligning with guidelines set forth in the function book. Following the regrettable loss of 2 K-9 officers, proactive measures are being taken to rebuild the force. The Customs of St. Martin is committed to rebuilding its K-9 forces and handlers, signaling a proactive approach to maintaining security and enforcement. Might I add, these K-9 officers are tagged at a price tag somewhere around 10,000 euros per K-9. So the handling, management, and caretaking of these K-9 officers must be properly assessed to know for their safety and well-keeping. Drawing from past experience, there's a clear acknowledgement of the necessity for redundancy and a viable replacement strategy. These measures ensure operational continuity and readiness for unforeseen events. There is an active effort to forge alliances with customs organizations within the kingdom. This endeavor aims to facilitate collaboration in acquisition, training, and development of K-9 units, ultimately enhancing efficiency and effectiveness through shared resources and expertise. Meanwhile, former K-9 handlers with the customs ranks have been reassigned to operational roles within the organization. This ensures that their skills and expertise continue to be effectively utilized while efforts to rebuild the K-9 force are underway. It is important to highlight that although the ministry had 200 national decrees prepared in connection with the phases, one of the placement processes, the LB-HAM and enactment decrees, or LB, didn't come into immediate effect after the signing on December 27, 2023. This delay is standard procedure as the Ombudsman is granted a six-week window period to review them and raise any objections against the legislation. However, in this instance, as no objections were lodged, the LB-HAM went into effect on February 8, 2024. The LBs regarding the retroactive payment correction are not being presented in the attached advice, nor does the current LB give financial claim to the retroactive impact of those corrections to be handled in the next phase. Further, the national decrees of this first phase are not subjected to payment disbursement plan and will be released in one payment for those decrees to which payment is applicable. The national decrees regarding the retroactive period between 10/10/10 and the 31st of December 2022 shall be handled according to the agreed upon disbursement plan, which the subsequent annual release payments, and I'm referring to the disbursement plan that was signed within the CCSU union platform. Madam Chair, Lady, that brings me to the end of answering the initial questions received. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Richardson. And at this time, the MP who posed the questions, so MP Roseburg, has the opportunity to once more ask additional questions, and also for a maximum of 2 minutes, albeit that I think, but MP Roseburg, you would have been better able to follow that. The minister might have gone into some of the questions that were asked as your additional questions. But now you still have the opportunity to ask additional questions for a maximum of 2 minutes. MP Roseburg.
Yes, I'm confused with the red versus green. Thank you for that, Madam Chair. Thank you for the explanation, Minister of Justice. I'm wondering, are you currently getting enough support from the Ministry of Finance? Because I'm seeing a lot of back and forth, but are you getting the support needed of what is lacking if you're not getting the support? I also understood, based on the articles that I've read, that there are about 700 national decrees to be processed. And I also read that the plan is to have like a minimum of 25 a week. So if I calculated correctly, it can take over 7 to 9 months to process it. So is that the plan, or is it the idea of creating a bigger group available to process this matter so that the police workers or the justice workers can get their payment as is due to them? Other than that, I didn't hear, but maybe I didn't, it went very fast, in connection to question number 5, what is the short-term solution to address this matter to avoid the go-slow actions and the work to rule? Because we have been seeing that happening a lot in the past few weeks, seeing the current position of the justice workers. And last question in regards to the custom officers, question 8E, what is the reason that there is no date of completion for the custom workers and their rechtspositielandverordening? So, because I understood that you didn't answer, or you said there is no date of completion, if I had it correct. But please,
Thank you, MP Roseburg. Just a friendly reminder, in our communication with the ministers, it's via the chair, to the minister. So, welcome. And Minister, I now give you the floor to respond to MP Roseburg. Additional questions, and of course, a minute for each answer.
Yes, thank you very much, Madam Chair Lady. Through you, I will respond. The relationship with the Ministry of Finance, I would like to be able to say that the relationship has always been a good one. It was just a matter of the fact that we worked together on the budget. And, I made an announcement that the 200 were complete. We did not know that an individual breakdown and print for each employee was going to be necessary. And so the fact that when we sent the LBAs and they were returned requesting that, it did take us a bit by surprise. Nevertheless, the communication between the staff finally did take place. That was ironed out. As I indicated, it does set us back because it requires more attention to printing specifically per staff. The next question is understood by the article that there are about 700. Yes, there is almost 800 employees. However, we are looking first in phase 1 at the 500 that are active staff. And over that, meaning if we have 25 LBAs per batch and 1 batch per week, that is 500 divided by 25, which is 20 batches. Hence the reason I indicated that when we calculated by the end of the second quarter, we should be done with phase 1. And we are seeking additional staff. If we get that, we expect that number to increase and be more expeditious, because ultimately our goal is to expedite the process. Didn't hear in connection with number 5, what is the short-term solution? The short-term solution is being able to get the staff that we need. As a matter of fact, we have indicated that the governor is currently handling a batch. They have agreed to expedite this process. So once we have LBAs being signed, and we have the belief that the template is in good order, and so the ability to roll these LBAs are in good standing. And one thing I want to point out, at the end of the day, we see the actions happening by the justice workers in a group. But when it comes to individuals and their money, they don't walk as a group. They want to hear and they want to see their numbers being accurate individually. And the moment that we mess that up, it's going to cause a problem. So whilst we understand there's an expeditious request, we are trying our best to do that, but we have to be very careful with people's money. And finally, your question said about the customs officers, what is the reason that there is no date of completion of their expositie? The interesting thing is that the Customs Department has a expositie. What they seek is for that expositie to be updated. And I have with me here with me is Attorney Brandon. And she is the attorney that is currently working with the unions and the customs officers. We have identified 5 individuals. I made mention that some meetings had been set. Unfortunately, those 5 members were not in attendance, so those meetings had to be rescheduled, and I'll be picking up that conversation with those members who have proposed themselves to assist with the review of the expositie and have it amended, but have not been present for the meetings that were scheduled by Attorney Brandon thus far. I don't know if that's all that yes, thank you.
Thank you, Minister Anna Richardson, for those responses. And we now have the opportunity for members of Parliament to ask a question about the same topic, and those members have the maximum of 1 minute to do so. based on Article 69D of the Rules of Order. According to the speakers list, digital speakers list, I see we have MP Grisha Heiliger Martin. MP Heiliger Martin, you have the floor.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair Lady. Before you start the clock, I just have a question. Are we going to be receiving the answers? Is it going to be booked in? Yes?
They have already been received.
Okay,
So the
perfect.
presentation with the answers by the minister has been received.
I had to say that before you, because I was seeing the finger right there. Good afternoon, members of parliament. Good afternoon to you, Minister of Justice, and your support staff, and those with us in the tribune, and those listening and viewing. I just have two simple questions through you, Madam Chair Lady, for the minister. I have a question regarding the first initial batches that the Minister of Justice submitted. When exactly did you submit? I need the exact date that the first batches were submitted. And also, I'm still in speaking with some justice workers, some in immigration, some in police. They still haven't received their placement. There's still a few that haven't received their placement letters as yet. Can you give me a summary of how many are still in the process of receiving their placement letters, and when would that be finalized? And I have one question. The staff that's involved with going over the 25 batches per week, are they staff that are part of your cabinet, or is there staff that is outside of the cabinet? I'm asking for continuity's sake. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, MP Grisha Heiliger Martin. I will now give the minister the opportunity to answer those questions by the Member of Parliament.
Thank you. Thank MP for her question. On the 19th of February, the 19th of February is when the first batch was sent to the Ministry of Finance? Okay, according to my SG, it was the 19th of February that first batch was sent. And secondly, oh, that's a resubmitted. No, the first batch she's asking, the 200, January what? The 24th of January is what I'm being advised, was the first day that those were sent. Yeah. And the second question is, you're asking if members of the cabinet are a part of that group? Sorry, Madam Chair Lady, through you.
I will allow the MP to ask the question again, yes,
No.
so that you got it, Minister?
I have it.
Okay, thank you,
In speaking
MP,
with
Minister.
some justice workers, they still haven't received their placement letters. We have staff within the Ministry of Justice who have moved from one department to the other. So let's say, for example, if you were working at the prison and you requested to move because you're no longer happy with working in that environment and you were moved to the immigration department. We first have to be able to rectify your history at the prison, which is a project that is currently underway, so that individual is not able to receive a placement letter at this time. Why? If we were to issue a placement letter to that individual, their placement would be at the prison, and that is something that they don't want. What they're seeking is to be placed in immigration. So we have some individuals indeed that are still awaiting that, and we're asking them to have some patience so that we can be able to rectify it, so we can make sure that the placement letter they receive is for the department they want to be at. And thirdly, the staff, the staff that are, as far as I know, none of the members of my cabinet are a part of the first batches. As a matter of fact, there was even a request to, separate the batches per agency and handle a specific department first. These batches are going randomly to ensure that all departments, persons within all departments are a part of the batches that are going up. So we are not separating them, and no one from my cabinet, as far as I know. I only have 2 persons who was a part of our civil servants that are in my cabinet, and as far as I know, none of them are a part of the initial batches.
Thank you, Minister. MP Grisha Heiliger Martin, was the response actually the question that you asked? I thought to have understood it differently, so I'll allow you, MP, just so that the minister can understand your question.
Yes. Thank you for that, Madam Chair Lady. The question that I asked is how many people still have not received their placement? I'm not asking for the specifics as to why, but how many thus far have not received their placement letters as yet? And I need to know regarding their group, it's what does, the people that are working on these 25 batches are separating the placement, who, is it a group of people that have you assigned to start working on it? Or I didn't understand it clearly. You have 2 people per ministry? I don't understand the composition of the people that are working on the individual LBs.
Thank you, MP Grisha Heilige-Martin. Minister, I think you get a better understanding of where the MP wanted to go with her question.
Yes.
Minister Richardson.
Thank you very much. I do not have the specific number of persons that are still lacking. We know that the Department of Have Bay is under a project right now, so definitely that is a department that is still to receive placement. You made mention of immigration and police. The specific number within those departments, my HR would have to be able to provide that at a later time. And your next question has to do with, sorry? It's a lot, so through you.
I understood the question from the MP to be regarding who in the cabinet of the, of the minister has been working on, is it from within? Who has been working on the batch?
Okay, got you. So you are seeking to know who is working on these LBs. The same set of individuals. Saskia Thomas Solomon is the one who was responsible and still is responsible for computing the calculations for the entire ministry. Took her 6 to 7 months to be able to do that alone. The SG, Ms. Brandon, Ms. Grace Marlin. We have the assistants now from Customs, Ms. Janine. We have the assistance of Ms. Janice Phillips and Ms. Belinda from Py S.D.M. And am I missing anyone? You have Melissa, who's a controller. That's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. And these are the people who have been pounding the pavement.
Thank you, Minister, for those responses. I continue with the members of Parliament who wish to also address the Minister on this topic, and I continue with MP Christophe Emmanuel. MP Emmanuel.
Madam Chair Lady, good afternoon. And good afternoon to the Honorable Minister, her support staff, and everyone, my colleagues and everyone in the Tribune. Madam Chair, I get the whole LB discussion. I get that. I want to talk money. That's what I want to talk. And the reason why I want to have that discussion, Madam Chair Lady, is because I want to ask the Honorable Minister about the crime fund. Is it anywhere in the future are we looking to take this responsibility away from the OM? And here's the reason why I'm saying that. I was shocked with a publication that I've seen from the OM, that came out from the OM, about a separate account that is used, that is banked at Banco de Caribe for fines that doesn't go into government coffers. I don't know if you're aware of that, but going through the budget, I was shocked when I saw it there, that there's a separate account that is used for fines that goes to or is deposited at Banco de Caribe. I would like to know why it is we are not able to use both crime fund and this account to pay the necessary funds to the individuals, which is the police officers and the whole staff that is needing this money. Why can't we access this money? In addition to that, Madam Chair, I know my time is up, can we get a breakdown of that separate account that's at Banco de Caribe that is used for fines? I thank you very much.
Thank you, MP Christophe Emmanuel. Minister Richardson.
Thank you, Madam Chair Lady. And thank you, MP Emmanuel. The impression that money is the issue is the wrong one. The issue here is not that the money is not available to pay the justice workers, and that is why it's necessary to take it out of the crime fund. That's one. But secondly, the crime fund in itself is currently one of the items under the Landspaket, and it has its own legislation as to what you can and cannot use the crime fund for. This is not one of them. This is not one of them that you can use the crime fund monies for. So we have to be careful with the impression of giving that there is monies available and there's no will to pay the justice workers. That is not correct. So yes, it is what I understood you asked, but you can get the clarification. Secondly, your question also asks about being able to get clarification about the second account that the OM's office has. I would have to seek that information for you to be able to provide it. But I just wanted to answer your two-pronged question through you, Madam Chair Lady, to MP. If there's
Thank you again,
clarification, I
Minister
can-
Richardson. MP Christophe Emmanuel, did the minister understand your first question and with the answer that she provided?
It's not what I asked, but I'm going to leave it as that, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you, MP Christophe Emmanuel. I now give the floor to MP Francisco La Cruz. MP La Cruz, you have the floor.
Good afternoon, and thank you, Madam Chair Lady. Good afternoon to the Honorable Minister, my colleagues, and the justice workers and viewers in the Tribune. Madam Chair Lady, through you, I ask the following questions to the Minister. The current budget for the personnel expenses in justice is estimated at 51 million guilders, and this is based on the 2023 budget. Can you, Minister, give us an idea of what will actually happen once everyone is placed? How much will this increase by 20, 30, 40, 50% after all the justice workers are actually in their correct scale and place? The second question, what legal basis exists for the signing of the LB if funding has not been secured to cover the costs? What plans does the government have to sustain both the increase in cost of personnel, as was before by my colleague, on the top of the retroactive payment, which are currently estimated at 4 million guilders per year, on average, a total of 40,000.
MP La Cruz, I just need to let you know that you only have 1 minute for the question and you're over the 1 minute. So if you could
just finish
finish
this
it,
question?
please.
Yep. Okay, and we just want to assure that the justice personnel are not being given false hope that the country can indeed afford it.
Minister.
Thank you, Madam Chair Lady. So the figure that you are referring to is a part of the budget, and you're seeking to know, when we did the 2023 budget amendment just here in December, it was a requirement to do the multi-annual budgeting in order for His Excellency to have signed the very legal basis you just asked about, the Rex Pozitie LB-HAM, the function book, as well as the budget itself being a legislation giving that legal basis. So all of the foundation necessary, all of the legal basis that is necessary is established to be able to compensate the justice workers, and it was a requisite for us to ensure that the multi-annual budgets going forward also recognize the necessary payment for the justice workers. What was the second question? What legal? So I just answered both questions in terms of the multi-annual budget has it, and the legal basis is established in everything that we just signed in December.
Thank you once again, Minister, and thanks to the members of Parliament for your questions, the answers given by the Minister, and I therefore want to thank the Minister of Justice, Minister Anna Richardson, and her support staff for your participation in this meeting here today. Members of Parliament, I just want to remind you of the procedures for a question hour, if you feel the need to make use of it, and of course with the information provided, and of course the presentation of the answers that we got from the Minister, it is every member of Parliament's right to ask further questions directly to the Minister based on anything that you have received as answers from the Minister. So I want to thank you, members of Parliament, and with this we have come to the end of the question hour. I thank all for their participation, and I hereby close this meeting of Parliament. Meeting closed.